Relaxation. Why do we need to talk about relaxation? In itself, relaxation is very important because it allows your body to channel energy clearly and to find avenues of creativity and of your imagination to be able to flow through you and to be able to give you an easy fulfillment of the demands of the play or of the scene of the script, whatever, okay? The biggest thing that we see is tension that creates habits, and habits usually are formed as an association with that person. Now, if you're playing a character, if you're playing many different types of characters, some of these characters will have an artifice of tension. Some characters won't. Now, if you bring your own habits and your own way of dealing with yourself, then that tension actually spills over. Not only does it make you self-conscious, but the audience actually picks up on it. Okay? So then what is tension? What is relaxation? It's tension, okay? Tension is based on being mental or physical. Mental tension exists, such as the self-talk, let's say, that's going on in your head, the fear and the usual negative sphere that pushes the physical tension. Now, physical and mental tension is very closely linked. That one really affects the other. So when we look at mental, we also look at the physical. When we look at physical, the physical will create the mental. Like, for example, you've seen many people that have a migraine, it spills over, that they might get upset at the person that they're with, and they'll say, "Oh, sorry, I have a headache," right? And that headache could also be not just the headache in itself, but it could be maybe shoulder pain, maybe neck pain, maybe it's somewhere that it's been, just carried or spilled over, that maybe you've heard people given the name, that person has a chip on their shoulder, or he's such a heavy individual. So why is it important? Okay, when you're coming up and you're on stage and you're going to get a clear action or a clear task or things that you need to complete for the play or for the film or whatever performance you're doing, you have to do it with very uninhibited movement and very uninhibited kind of centeredness. Because if you don't, that tension starts to become a marker for the audience to say, that person's very self-conscious, okay? And the biggest clue that you can see that people have tension, especially like new actors, or if you watch certain actors on television that have certain habits, that if you watch them from role to role to role, you will see their faces scrunch up a certain way. They talk a certain way, they use that as tension, or they move a certain way because they're kind of stuck in their body. So it always becomes these habits that you as an audience member can associate them with their kind of furrowed brow and their kind of tilted head forward or whatever that is. Now you could say that's them playing the character, but if they've got many characters that they're playing, if you've seen them in different roles, and you see some of that spill over, then that's most likely a habit that they lean into. And that habit is usually based on tension that's formed through, the social lubricant from childhood or whatever it is. If you want to start to identify what and where tension exists, what you have to do first is you have to realize that it exists in the first place. That's the most important thing, right? Because if you don't know if it exists, you might just be walking around and say, oh yeah, I'm fine. There's no tension. Okay, but knowing where it exists in it exists in everybody. It exists in me right now as I'm sitting here. I can feel tension in my throat, right? As I'm hunched over, I can already feel tension in my shoulders. I can feel tension in my lower back, in my glutes, in my legs from just sitting down. All right, and the tension just spills over in what I do. So maybe it's based on how I sound or how I'm projecting or who I am as a person, that people that see me on the street, they just identify that as me. But you playing a character, if you bring that in, then you're bringing it as you, which if that's what you want, that's what you want. But if you're moving away from, let's say, the habits of oneself, then you have to find what the habits of the character are and introduce that as their tension. Okay? And we don't do that physically to destroy your own body. We actually do it twofold. We do it in a way where on the inside, on the self-awareness, you're relaxed the whole time. To the audience, they can't tell the difference. But your mind is scanning your body that you can be aware of that tension and that tension being alleviated. But at the same time, you're creating through your work, through your physicality, through whatever it is, to create the tension of the character. Okay, so now we go back to knowing that it exists. So being aware of the body and being aware at different times of the day. That's the marker of it, and doing it enough. So because you're aware of it every single day, then it becomes just second nature that whether you're sitting on the bus or whether you're in the corporate office or whether you're performing, wherever it is, you're aware for those split seconds that the tension exists, and I'm going to let that tension go. And because I'm going to let it go, over time you build up this skill set where you're in a high pressure situation, but you're so calm in the middle, or at least as an afterthought. These emotions might rise, this tension might rise, but you can quickly just cut it. You can cut the roots of it, okay? So once it exists, we obviously should find where it exists. So that location of it. Because sometimes it's not only one place or where it's very much prevalent. For example, in me, it took me a long time to realize that I had a lot of tension in my diaphragm, in my stomach, right? I've got a lot of tension there and in my throat, and you can hear it, right? The not so subtle areas of tension are obviously the ones that are more physically prevalent. Like I might have tension in my back and my shoulders because it actually hurts. But the restricting tension and having that awareness and the location of where it exists can go deeper and deeper and deeper to know the little nuances of where that tension kind of starts to shift in the body and how you can relieve it. So that's kind of it for relaxation. See if you can try it. If you can't, then take a moment, close your eyes, and just in the most, let's say, either low pressure, high pressure situations, 3 times a day. Just close your eyes and just scan your body. Just scan your body with the inner eye and see where it sits. And once it sits, breathe into it and let it melt away, either by imagining it or by tensing it and relaxing it. Okay, and that's where you start.